Good day everyone. Today's video I'm going to show you how to create 3 simple, very non-traditional fall DIYs. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start off these DIYs by making a wreath, and I enjoy making my own wreath because I get to customize them to fit my style. Now, with that being said, there is no right or wrong way to make a wreath. So therefore, I'm going to just give you some tips to help you along the way in your wreath making journey. So the very first tip that I have for you is that you want to measure and cut your stems as you go. And when you measure, always cut your stems just a little bit longer. It's always good to have extra stem than to not have enough. In addition to that, what you want to do is not immediately glue down all of your stems. I personally rather not glue my stems at all. Instead, I use floral wire to hold them in place so that I can use my florals for any other type of arrangements. Another tip is to take off the florals from your stems and then add some glue and then adhere them back onto the stem. This will just make it a little bit more sturdy, especially when you're using florals from the Dollar Tree. They are very capable of just popping out at any time, and it can be a little frustrating in the making of your arrangement. So this tip is probably one of the most important tips, and in doing any type of wreath or floral arrangement, what you want to do is make it symmetrical. And what I mean by symmetrical is that if you place any type of florals on one side of the wreath, you're going to do the same type of floral placements on the other side of the wreath. So one last tip that I do have for you is that if you're going to go in and use any type of embellishments that don't have any stems or any wiring whatsoever, you can use the leftover stems from your florals and they will be your new stems for your embellishments. And what's even great about it is that now they're bendable to fit your wreath to your liking. So I wanted to make some garland for like my coffee station so I can decorate. But there was really nothing that I liked, so I decided to use what I had. There is some macrame cord and then some jute cord in between. So I'm going to show you how to accomplish this here. And then when I decide to decorate, all I'm going to do is add like embellishments, like fall embellishments. But I wanted it to be garland that I could use even for Christmas time or any other time of the year. And my style is kind of like a boho farmhouse. So that's how come I included the jute cord here. So let me show you how to start this and accomplish this. Before we get started, I just wanted to throw in a couple of side notes. I didn't do any exact measurements when it came to cutting my cording. However, I did measure the space of where I wanted it to go. And from there, I tripled my macrame cord and I doubled my jute cord. There's so many factors that come into play, and it really just kind of was confusing. So I didn't want to confuse you all, and instead I just kind of eyeballed it. So I went with triple the macrame cording as I mentioned earlier, and then doubling the jute cord, and it came out perfect. To get started, all I have are my jute cords in the middle, and then I'm placing a strand of macrame cord on each end. And to hold everything together, what I'm going to do is grab a piece of tape, and I do have painter's tape on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. You can use any other type of tape that you may have. And then I'm going to do is place it at the very top just to hold everything in place. And for me, the important thing is to keep everything flat. So that's how I opted out to going this way. Many people just tie it into like a knot and then they tie it on the wall or something. Ideally, I would have loved to work with this cord on the wall. It just makes it easier. But for the purpose of this video, I'm showing it to you this way. So I placed it on there. But before we get started with doing our spiral knot, what I'm going to do is grab the very end of the cording so that it is easier to work with, and just start to wrap it around my hand like so. And then this way it makes or creates a bundle. And once I've got the desired length, then what I'm going to do is tie the bundle with the very end of the cord just around itself, and then that way it holds it in place. And this is going to be ideal for weaving in the cord from one end onto the other side. My previous video, I showed you how to square knot, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to spiral knot. They are very similar in knots, except that the spiral knot, you're going to be leading from one side only and knotting from that side. And I chose my right side to be the leading knot side. So this is how the knot works. What you're going to do is grab one end and make a little loop on the side, hold it in place in the middle, grab the other cord and go over and under and through the loop that you created at first. And so when you're tightening it, all it does is look like a pretzel, or at least to me it looks like a pretzel. I must be hungry. Anyways, then you go in and tighten it, and you're just going to continue to do this all the way through the jute cording with the of course the leading side, which for me is going to be my right side. When your spiral cording starts to form, your non-leading cord is now going to be at the bottom. So now you're just going to push it through, and you're going to start using that as your leading cord until you reach the other side again. And you'll just alternate between the two. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is go in and take off the tape that I started with. And then I'm going in with a thinner type of cord. This is kind of like cotton. I think it's like 2-ply. Yeah, but it's very thin. And I picked this up, I think, at the 99-cent store. However, you can use yarn and it work just as great. If you use kind of like cording that's a little thicker, like the macrame or even the jute, it's going to be too thick to tie it off. So I mean, you can get that one, the jute from the Dollar Tree, that's very thin. I think that'll work fine, but I'm just going to use this because it's very flexible. Cut a piece of string, yarn, whatever you're using or want to use, and then just tie it off like that. It'd be much easier. And then I'm going to tie the opposite side like so, and then you will add your tassels. All right, I wanted to show you that this is the end where the macrame, where I finished it, the spiral cord, and I just fastened it off on itself. I'm going to cut these strands later, but then I went in with my tassels, and I just added a little 14mm bead here, and I think it looks super adorable. I didn't do this on this end, so I think I'm going to take this one off. This is the beginning, and then I'm going to add a little tassel. I feel like it's just a little bit more farmhousey kind of thing. So that's that. Just make your tassels. I'm sure everybody knows how to make tassels. If not, leave me a comment down below, and I'll do like a real quick tutorial or something on like my Instagram or my Facebook or something on just how to make some tassels. But they're pretty common, and so I didn't want to bore everybody with like the same type of footage. But that's pretty much what I did. So this last DIY, I took those pumpkins that you see every year at the Dollar Tree, the foam orange pumpkins, and I took an old t-shirt that used to be my husband's. This was an old work uniform that they no longer use, and I cut it into long strips, and then all I'm doing is adhering it onto the pumpkin. Now, I will say that the fabric that I'm using on this pumpkin was very hard to handle. It was a very like soft, flexible material, and it stretched at the same time, so it just made it difficult to handle, but I accomplished it. However, I didn't cut the strands perfectly. It kind of like they were really just rugged, but it worked. I wanted to see the crevices of the pumpkin, and you know, it did the job. So after I was done covering the pumpkin, I did not like the way it looked. I just didn't cut those strips of fabric right enough, and I couldn't fix them as much. So I decided to go in with some jute cord, and I'm literally just going to let the crevices of the pumpkin itself be my guide. And then I'm going to weave it within itself at the very top so that it kind of stays in place in the middle. The next thing to do is to grab a bobby pin and thread the jute cord on every other strand. That way it forms a circle at the very top of the pumpkin. So this pumpkin, I decided to use a different technique, something a little bit more simpler, and I'm literally just going to carve a small hole about the size of a penny at the top of the pumpkin. And from there, I'm just going to go in and tuck all the fabric around the pumpkin into that hole, and then I will glue anything necessary at the very end. But I didn't have to do much gluing, and I just feel like this technique was 10 times better as opposed to the first one, and I like both of them, but this one is just kind of a lot more cleaner, to say the least. And now you have two options. I decided to add my own stems, and I'm going to use cinnamon sticks for it. And I think I picked these up at the Dollar Tree a couple years ago, and I still have a whole pack. So I'm going to embellish it with the cinnamon sticks, and those will be like my faux stems. And then I'm going to use lamb's ear as the leaves. I want to keep this all in the same color realm so that they match with my wreath. So this pretty much wraps up my DIYs for fall of 2020. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video so far. You know, they're very easy to make and very affordable at the same time. And I would love to see your guys' recreations to fit your own style. I'm going to leave my social media tags linked down below for you in the description box. I would love to see what you guys recreated. And In addition to that, I would love to see you guys in the next video. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell for the next upload. And until then, my friends, have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye.